Hello and welcome everyone to another Northbasics video on my channel. Today I want to talk about the second most important resource in the game of Northgard, and I would say that is food, of course. Since I said in the last episode that wood is the most important, you could have maybe thought that I think food is the second most important, but it is, of course, but this is actually the resource you will consume the most of. That is why most players think it's the most important, just because it floats so fast out of your hand. But with a little bit of economy management and with the right buildings in the right places, you can actually get a quite good food economy and you will get healthy. And I'm just gonna try to explain it right here. We're just gonna start about what is food actually used for. Food is actually just used for to colonize other tiles and to feed your to feed your villagers and your whole village, of course. So the biggest thing about it is actually the consumption. So your villagers gonna consume a lot of your food that you're going to produce. So your production can seem to be away even if you have a lot of villagers working for food. So your biggest goal in the end of the game should be to get more productive villagers, so a single villager can produce more wood, but we're going to get into that a little bit later on. Just at the start you gotta think about that every villager is consuming food even though he isn't getting food right now. So even this merchant is just consuming as much food as this hunter right here is. So that's the basic thing about sheeps. Don't consume any food. That's quite of the thing that makes them so strong, because they get free food for you in the free food production for you. That's just like a normal villager who's not hurt, and they cannot get hurt and they will not consume food. So they are just as good as a villager for you. So you will mostly use your food just to feed your villagers or to colonize tiles. What you will usually stockpile your food before for if you want to do so. So if you want to get a 160 tile, you will look for to stockpile 160 food over your needs to get this tile here. So mostly just used for these both things. That's why I think it's not as important as wood, because you will need wood a lot more. So how can you get that food? Definitely over food tiles. So at first, of course, your villagers will get food by themselves if you just let them grab food on a normal tile or a tile with a house on it. So you will need a food building or a house on a tile, or it is your main building so your villagers can grab food out of it. They cannot just go on a building where there's no food building on there. I can't actually show it right here because I have actually no area with no building on it, with no food building on it, so I can't really show. Ah yeah, I can actually, just right here, because there's just a sheepfold. The sheepfold doesn't count because there are no humans working, I guess. So if you send them right here, you won't grab any food. You will need a house or a food building on it, so they do it. But then they will have a rate of 3. That's quite okay. In the winter it will be sliced in half, just by like everything else, everything other food buildings. There are a few exceptions, but I'm gonna get into it when I'm gonna explain the food buildings, and that is actually right now, because we have the villagers done. I'm gonna start with the fish, because the fish is actually not the most valuable for me, but it's still valuable at some point, so you gotta keep it in mind. If you build a fisher's hut, your villagers will just produce as much food as they do as villagers, but they're gonna produce the same amount in winter. So you can upgrade the fisher's hut, you will get 20% more if you have a silo in it. It can really get quite efficient. And they will get the same rate in winter. So this can actually be quite efficient. If you are bear and can get even 20% more on top, this can get really efficient. So with harpoons, fish can be really valuable. Don't think just because I don't use it that much that fish is totally not valuable. You can use fish definitely, and there will be situations where I use fish, but they just don't happen that often like the other fields, the other food the food resources, because they are just more valuable. I could lose a little word about the sheep here. I already told about that they get free food, they don't consume food, so they are just as good as a villager. Their food production will be sliced in half in the winter, just like every other food building beside of the fish and the hunter's lodge, what I'm gonna come later to. But the sheepfold will, when it upgrades, not give you 20% more food production, it will give you 50% more food production per sheep. That's why it's actually very valuable to upgrade if you have more sheep. But that's all I'm gonna say about the sheepfold here. So going to the hunter's lodge. The hunter's lodge is quite efficient, so every hunter will give you in sum of plus 4.5 production. So this is quite good, not as good as a field, but I'll come later to it again. But the hunter's going to get a little bit more than the half in winter, so a hunter's lodge is actually a little bit more valuable than a field. So in rush builds, where you really want to attack quite early, it can be more valuable to go for the hunter's lodge, but in very not a lot cases, to say it like this. A field is usually more valuable than a hunter's lodge, since I'm gonna just go over to the fields here without a cut, because a farmer will get 5 food in the summer. So 5 food in the summer, and the production will be totally sliced in winter. So in winter the production of the field is actually lower than from the hunter's lodge. So if you look from it from a time perspective and you really rush down and you really want to have your rush done like after a half of a year, it can be more valuable to go for the hunter's lodge, since you get the bonus over the winter of the first year. But if you want to have the game running longer, it will be more valuable to go for the field. And even if your rush is coming in a little bit later than after a half of a year, it should be more valuable to go for the field, since the overall production of the field is higher than from the hunters. If you just go overall and cut it all through the months, yeah, divide it, you take all the food and divide it by the months they needed to get this, you will get a higher number by the farmers than by the hunter's lodge. It is not that much higher, but it can make the difference, and the small things always make the difference in such games, of course. So how to get a little bit easier on that food? Yeah, of course you can get as a wolf, you can try to clean out other tiles, kill wolves and everything to get on food, of course. The best thing to get on easy food, of course, is to get a field tile, build a silo on it, and get the most production villagers you can get, like I said in the beginning of the video, that you want villagers with the highest production possible. So you don't want one villager that is getting 4 food, or you don't want 2 villagers, they get you together like 8 food, because everyone is getting 4 food. You want one villager that gives you 8 food in the perfect sense. I don't think it's possible to get a villager up to 8 food production, but you get my thinking. You want to have one villager that's getting a hell of a lot of food, so he has a perfect job, to say. So just right here I would say maybe break this down, build a food silo over here, and we're not gonna think about the iron and the later adventures of this. I'm just gonna explain it here, that you want to build a food silo, of course, on this tile here, not going to build it on any other tiles, so you can upgrade the production of the sheeps and the hunters right here. And if you upgrade it, you will even upgrade it more. So it's way more productive to build the silo over here, to have designated food tiles, to have designated trade tiles and everything so on. But yeah, the food tiles, you will really need to watch out that you don't build too much on it. Since you see right here, I have sheepfold on it, the food building and the silo. With other clans, you will actually just need to build 2 buildings on there, but you gotta watch out that you don't build too many houses on a food tile, since you don't want to block yourself and don't want to break down buildings afterwards. That's never really a nice thing to do, but sometimes you will have to do it, since it's really needed to have those designated food tiles, and you will have a rough time if you don't do it like this. So, yeah, with these words, I'm just gonna close that video out. I hope you could take something without it, out of that video. Yeah, I hope I put everything in here I know about food. I'm quite sure I did. there's nothing coming in my mind right now what I could have forgot. If you have something that I might have forgot, just write it down in the comments. I will be pleased to answer there to it. And yeah, have a great day everyone. Yeah, enjoy your time in Northgard, and bye bye. Ciao.